This episode of the NAST podcast is sponsored by Seattle Restored. Seattle Restored is actually the reason why I'm in NAST Studios in the first place. They partner with local artists and entrepreneurs to create pop-up shops, artist installations, artist residencies, and community events. Visit seattlerestored.org for more info on locations and upcoming events. Are you ready to take your podcast to the next level? Then look no further than NAST Studios, located in Seattle's Pioneer Square. Hi, I'm Blake. I'm the owner, in-house producer, and editor. We've got 3 cameras to capture every moment and can host up to 8 mics, ensuring your podcast looks and sounds professional. We've got affordable pricing for podcasters at all levels. So what are you waiting for? Visit www.naststudios.com. Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. This is the first episode in the series with Seattle Restored participants. Today, I'm with Yolanda. She runs Yolanda's Art Gallery.
Yes, indeed.
And I met you at what is that, like, building above the Good Bar?
Yeah, it was like in Pioneer Square.
Yeah.
And you had tea. And I was like,
yes.
wow, that's so cool. Yeah.
That's before I knew I was getting an actual space.
Yeah.
So that was super cool. And that was back in summertime.
Yeah, it was like spring going into summer of last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you're originally from Colorado, and then
Yes.
you moved to Eastern Washington,
Yeah.
and that's where like your childhood is kind of from, right?
Yeah.
And how did you get involved with art? Because you're a visual artist, you're a
Yeah.
painter. What's the word now? Because like everyone says like they're an artist, and that can mean they're a musician, that can mean they're whatever.
I call myself a visual artist.
Okay.
And yeah, I was born in Denver back in the 80s. Moved to Washington when I was like 5.
Okay.
And I grew up in Yakima. And for as long as I can remember, I've been drawing.
Mm.
And in like 4th, 5th grade, I would draw like SpongeBob or like
Yes. Hell yeah.
one of my classmates' favorites was like the Bad Boy logo, the Bad Boy Records logo.
Yeah.
They would have me draw it, and I'd be like, all right, do you want color or black and white? And it was $3 for color and $1 for black and white. And yeah, so 4th, 5th grade, I was just slinging cartoon drawings.
Wow.
And yeah, I kind of got away from it for a little bit. And 2020 happened to everyone, and I was stuck in the house like everyone, and was like, I'm gonna try some paints and see.
Oh, so it's a recenter thing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I picked up drawing again in like 2016 and was just kind of like had a sketchbook, but 2020 I was like, I want to do something different, so ordered some paints off of Amazon, some little $5 like little tubes.
Yeah.
And like, in case I mess this up, I don't want to spend too much money on it. But
Yeah.
yeah, and I just never stopped.
That's funny because I started my podcast in like 2019, right before COVID, so I'm able to say I'm not one of those COVID podcasters.
Yeah.
You know, but that's interesting that like, so you had that passion, and then I guess COVID, whether people wanted it or not, kind of gave them time to reevaluate certain things in their lives and what they actually like to do and care about, etc., their priorities. Yeah. And maybe art was like one of those priorities for you?
Yeah, it kind of came full circle. Well, before my art life, I was like in the healthcare field, and then I worked at a bank, and I got robbed, and then I got fired. Yeah, it was crazy. I didn't get fired because I got robbed, but I had got robbed like a few months before I got fired, and then COVID happened.
Wait, like robbed at the bank?
Yes.
What? Okay, was it like in like a Seattle bank, or was it Eastern Washington?
It was in Seattle area.
What?
Yeah, and he was very nice. It was weird. He had a note in a fake Russian accent, and was like, "Give me all the money," and he got away with like 10 grand. They caught him like 3 days later. But it was an experience. I got to meet like the FBI and stuff. Like, yeah, I've had a life. But once I left that job, art just kind of like kept poking at me, and I was like, okay, now I don't have anything but time on my hands. So yeah, here
that's
we are.
a wild story though. I wonder, like, that can't be that like everyone knows about bank robberies, but I feel like that's just not a common thing anymore.
It's not, and it's not like the movies. It's not Inside Man or whatever that Denzel Washington movie was. It wasn't that. Like, it was very quiet, and as soon as he walked in, I was like, oh man, I'm about to get robbed. Like, I just knew. Yeah, and I got in trouble for like back talking him. wasn't supposed to like talk back to him.
Oh
But
my gosh.
yeah,
That's a good experience though.
yeah.
And then what'd you do in the healthcare industry? Or
I started
medical field, I
as
guess.
a CNA.
Okay.
I did all my prereqs to be a RN, and I would have like this reoccurring dream for like 3 years of me being lost in a hospital,
Mm.
and then I couldn't find my way out, so I would end up jumping out of a window.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and I was like, maybe I don't want to be a nurse. I don't
Yeah.
know. So I quit that, and then I moved into the lab field of it.
Mhm.
So I just actually graduated this year with my lab tech degree. And
Congrats.
thank you. I haven't stepped foot in a lab. I've been
Okay.
painting, but it's kind of like, okay, maybe that can be plan B
Mhm.
and art can be plan A instead of the other way around.
Mhm.
So that's kind of where I'm at now.
Dang, you remind me of oh my gosh. What's her name? I had her on my show. It's not Artemis.
Is it Aramis?
Aramis.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know her yet, but I follow her and I fan out.
She has a
on
similar
Hobbies.
journey to you. Like she was in the
Really?
medical field too, and then she was able to like slowly transition her art into her full-time
Yeah.
thing.
Aramis hit me up.
Yes.
I'm a big fan.
Yeah, she did like one of the Black Lives Matter letters and kept
Yeah,
stuff.
I've been following her since around 2020.
Okay.
I think she really started popping in 2022. And
Yeah.
I was like, oh, wow, she's so dope.
So how'd you end up in Seattle from Eastern Washington?
I had always wanted to move over here. Like being born in Denver, I was kind of used to being, well, not used to, but kind of experience a bigger city. And
Yeah.
then growing up in Yakima, it just felt like a tuna can or something.
For sure.
Like it was just so small.
I just think of
and
Yakima as like a camping place. I don't really think
yeah,
people live there, but I guess
yeah, there's people there, and you can literally like drive around the whole city in like 30 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
And they got, I feel there's 2 Walmarts now.
Wow. They're
But
moving on up in the world.
yeah, they just got Uber like a couple years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just really small. But my mom wanted to get us out of the city
Mhm.
because I have an older brother, and
Okay.
she just wanted to raise us kind of in a smaller, more controlled environment,
Mhm.
being a single parent and wanting to be able to keep easier tabs on us.
Yeah.
So yeah, I moved over here about 11 years ago. Just moved over and was like, yeah, I'm just gonna live in the city now.
How was that? Because I guess you weren't an artist moving to the city versus like
No.
artists can't even like
Yeah. Can't move here and just be like, hey, y'all, I'm on the scene. No.
Yeah.
It was tough at first,
Mhm.
but I did have some family over here.
Okay.
So I had a mini support system, and my mom was able to move over a
Oh,
few
nice.
years ago. So yeah, I moved here, met my husband,
Okay.
and just been living ever since.
Nice. So like growing up in like Yakima area, was there any culture really there, or is like moving to Seattle? I guess like there's culture, but you have to find
Yeah.
it. So I wonder what
Yeah.
that move was like.
It's a little more, I'll say it's a little more diversified here.
Okay.
As far as being able to immerse yourself in multiple cultures.
Mhm.
In Yakima, we have a very heavy like Hispanic culture, so I kind of grew up immersed in that, learning Spanish
Oh,
and
nice.
like loving the food and everything about it is cool. But over here, it's just a little more diversified, so
Mhm.
that was kind of cool. And it helps in my art because I like to express my own culture.
Mhm.
So being able to kind of see how immersed people here are and
Mhm.
how proud they are of their cultures versus it being kind of like one dominant group, it's kind of cool to see how different people express their pride for their cultures.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And like, is your husband an artist at all, or?
He is a producer. He's a music producer.
Okay.
So we're both creatives in the house.
Oh, wow.
Fighting for time to be able to do what we want to do. We have a 4-year-old and a 15-year-old.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, it's like, okay, I'll let you go work on some music for a minute, but I need like a couple hours later. Like we're
Yeah.
like bartering for time to like do things outside of stuff that has to get done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are your kids like creative as well then, or?
My son, my 15-year-old, he's into fashion. He's expressed wanting to design clothes and start a clothing line. So we're trying to
Nice.
Gonna support him in that. And our 4-year-old, he just he likes to destroy things. So he's creative in his own way. He's a disassembler.
Yeah, there's art in destruction,
Yeah.
right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay. So what's it like? Like, so you live in the Seattle area.
Yeah.
What's it like being like a Black family in Seattle?
It's actually really cool because we were living out north so we've been together almost 9 years. And we were out north for most of that time, and we just moved back to the Central District. Well, he was born and raised in the Central District, so it was kind of like a homecoming for him. So he's like, oh, my son's going to go to the same school I went to. This is so cool. But it's interesting because, like, when we're out in public, he loves to push our 4-year-old in his stroller. Like, he's like, I'll push him, I got it. And he gets a lot of looks, like looks of like, oh wow, look at a Black dad pushing his kid. And so it's interesting, but we just kind of see ourselves as like an example. Like, hey, this is something that exists and is positive, and just we want to set a great example for not only for our own kids to be able to see that and have that, but just for our friends and family to just kind of have that positive image of the Black family, because neither one of us had it growing up.
Have you felt like the Central District community like supports your art? Have you connected with the city in that way at all?
Definitely. I have some art actually hanging up in 23rd Ave Brewery. I cannot say that word, brewery, to save my life. But over on
is that the one next to that Ethiopian restaurant?
It's on 23rd and Jackson near the Amazon Fresh.
Okay, yeah.
And they welcomed me with open arms, and I'm trying to get more out in the Central District community. I did actually just get accepted to commission a piece for the Metropole building.
Okay.
So that will be done with construction in June, hopefully. And it'll be like the biggest piece I've done in life. So I'm excited but nervous at the same time. It's going to be like 8 feet tall or something crazy like that. But so that'll be my big like footprint in the community here. Hey.
And so do you have like an art studio?
My kitchen table.
Okay.
Yeah, kitchen table, little kitchen counter nook area. We haven't ate dinner at the table since 2020, since I started. Had to get a new table because I got paint all over the old table. So I'm like, okay, I'll get tarps this time. This is a nice table. I don't want to ruin it. But hopefully one day I will be able to afford some time to go to a studio and the space.
So like break down how this was able to like, so in like your bio, you've been able to turn this into like a full-time thing. How did that start from like 2020 till now? Did you start going to like art fairs or whatever?
Yeah, I have a good friend that I actually went to high school with. And back in the day we did a little music and stuff. But
you did music?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I that was my past life, but I'm like, I found a new way to express myself. And now I live vicariously through my husband. So
he might need some background vocals.
A lot of the artists he pushes beats to, I'm like, oh, I hear so and so on that. And so they're like, thanks for telling Twan to send me this. I'm like, you're welcome. I just shifted my role. But no, a good friend of mine, he actually, the first big event I did was a Juneteenth event out in Marysville.
Okay.
And that was in 2021.
Nice.
And that was my very first time, like, setting up a table, like, having prints. And I had no idea what I was doing. My table was all bare naked. Like, I had, like, 4 prints to offer and 1 little original piece. And I got a really good reception from that. Like, I sold out there. And shout out to Michael Adams. He runs the Change the Narrative and the Snowco Change the Narrative chapter. So he's really cool. But he invited me to that, and I was able to connect at that event with a Black-owned coffee shop out in Mill Creek. And so that was my first time putting my stuff up just in a public space. And it just kind of snowballed. Like these opportunities just kept coming, and coffee shops, restaurants, and then I came across the Seattle Restored program and was like, ah.
Dang, how'd you come across that? Because like it was literally just the most random. When I was working at the studio, the one I interviewed Divine at,
Yeah.
that was literally I interviewed Divine, and that studio was like the size of a bathroom. Like it was
Wow.
super small, but like I was able to like start making money and learn how to podcast produce that's in that space. But one of my clients, Blaine, he has this podcast called the That Ain't Black podcast, which sounds
I
it's
like
its
that.
own thing. But he's like this like original like Seattleite. He's in his 50s. He's lived in the same house his entire life in the Central
Oh,
District,
cool.
and he focuses on interviewing like black entrepreneurs and people in the community, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And he had Avery Barnes from Taswira on, and then she had just gotten her space because of Seattle Restored.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is Seattle Restored? I need to connect with her.
Yeah.
And so like if Blaine hadn't had her on the show, I wouldn't even have,
Never.
and I wasn't there producing because there was two producers at the time.
Yeah.
So like it was just total coincidence that all worked out.
Yeah.
But so for you, you just like came across it online or something?
Yeah.
Or-
Just
wow.
scrolling on Instagram.
Wow.
And I was like, what is this? It was like, it wasn't even anyone's, it might have been someone's installation. I think it was someone's installation.
Okay.
I can't remember who it was. I want to say his name was like James or something. I don't know. I don't want
Nice.
to butcher it, but
Shout out James or something.
yeah, I was scrolling. It was late. It
Mm.
was like 1 a.m. Like I'm just in bed scrolling. I came across it and I'm like, what is this? So I go to their page and they said they were accepting applications. And I was like, oh, and I like pondered it for a couple days. Because at the time I was like, I don't know if I'm ready for something like that. Like, I don't have a lot of art. I don't have a portfolio really.
Right.
Like, I just was kind of doing little $40 commissions for people that I knew, and just creating things and just sharing them online. And I was like, yeah. My husband was like, just go for it. Like, the worst that could happen is you just don't get in this time. So I was like, okay, why not? And yeah, I applied and got accepted. I was
Dang.
like, whoa, okay.
Yeah. I don't know about you, but I feel like I never win anything.
Same.
So like when I got,
Same.
yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, I was like, wow, this is wild. So I was like, okay, I got to make some stuff then.
Yeah. So like what made you decide to like go for like, you do installations versus an actual physical space, right?
Yeah.
And what made you decide to go with that route versus, or I think they even do like some residency somewhere.
Yeah. For me, it's kind of more of a balance thing with having a family. It's just hard to dedicate being away for any amount of time. I got a high schooler, so that's a lot. Our 4-year-old's on the spectrum, so that's a lot. And so just kind of, I'm like, I want a way to still be able to express and share, but still keep that balance of being present at home. So I think I found it.
So with this like installation, like, did you come up with like a whole like idea and like theme for the specific one, or are you just like how do you go about making your art?
Yeah, I actually, my initial proposal, I was trying to do like this Endangered Animal series. I do
Okay.
portraits, but I have a soft spot for animals.
Okay.
And I started doing this whole series of endangered animals where all the originals have sold except one. I still got a sea turtle for sale, y'all. But I wanted to be able to just like spread awareness about like, hey, these creatures are actually like might not be here for much longer. But my bread and butter is portraits. But my initial proposal was the animal series, and I wasn't getting any bites off of that. So in the meantime, I was participating in the markets and just showing up to events and stuff like that. So I changed my proposal to a more recent series that I had completed called Hair Love. And it was kind of documenting my own hair journey to locks, which I'm gonna die with this hair. Like I'm never changing my hair again. Best hair decision ever. But being, a Black woman growing up, a young Black girl, the relationship we have with our hair is very personal and deep, and sometimes love hate. So I've been through all the phases of being Black with my texture of hair. And so I was like, I'm going to document on in these 5 paintings like the different natural hairstyles that I tried and loved on my way to figuring out like I'm just gonna lock it. So I did 5 paintings of various Black women with Afro puffs, Bantu knots, and I submitted that as my new proposal. And then within like a month, they were like, "Oh, yep, someone wants it." I was like,
Wow,
"What?
that's awesome.
That's all I had to do." So
Do you feel like that was maybe more like true to yourself versus?
definitely.
But there's probably some like what are the endangered animals? Like this.
Oh yeah, so I have an elephant, which is my favorite animal.
Okay.
African elephant. I have a white rhino, a sea turtle, and a bumblebee.
Bumblebees are going
Yeah.
extinct?
Yeah,
Oh
well
no.
they're like threatened, I think.
Okay.
But I was just like, oh, like it's personal, but not as personal
Right.
as I can be.
Yeah.
And I think just showing that representation, like I was at a market one time and this little girl ran up to my table and she saw one of the Bantu knot portraits I did. And she's like, "My mommy does my hair like that." And
Nice.
I cried. Like I was like, "Oh my God, take it. It's yours. Like
Mhm.
just tell your mom thank you."
Yeah.
Like it was very like deep for me. So I was like, okay, I
This wasn't like a
think
white girl, right?
no,
That'd
no.
be so fun.
Yeah, that would be hilarious. I'd be like, okay, who's your mom? Bring her over here. I gotta meet this woman. No, yeah, it was a young little melanated girl. So I
Yeah.
was like, wow, that's great because I grew up. My mom was a cosmetologist for like 30 years.
Dang.
But I have Haitian hair, so it's very course, and to make her life easier she would perm it. So I started getting relaxers in my hair when I was like 3.
Jeez.
And I just grew up thinking like, oh, this is how I take care of my hair, which is not how you take care of your hair when you have this kind of hair.
Yeah.
So in my early 20s I was just like, oh, okay, I'm not gonna do that anymore. And then I just went through this, I chopped it all off and then went through this evolution of finding myself through my hair. So that shows a lot in my art. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like there's definitely not, especially in Seattle, there's not really a lot of places where you know like how to do hair care.
Yeah.
Like I don't even know if I'm doing mine correctly. I look to Tracy Ellis Ross.
Yeah.
I use pattern, right? But that's like, but I don't even know if that's the best thing I could be doing for my hair. But like I'm like I see this lady who's like a prominent Black figure, and this is her brand.
Yeah.
But like her shit's like 50 a pop. So I'm like even like the other day I was like, you know what? I don't want to spend leave-in conditioner and conditioner for like that'd be $100. I'm like, I'm just gonna get the sample kit.
Yeah.
And that was still like $24. I'm like, geez,
that's insane.
But like, I don't know if that's the best thing, but it's been working so far, I guess.
Yeah,
but...
if it works, like that's the tough thing though. Like our hair care products are so expensive, and it's like why? And it's kind of disappointing that a lot of them are not even Black owned.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I was just like, I'm just gonna lock it. I throw olive oil in it, and that's pretty much it. Like that's all and shea butter, and it's been what 3? I locked in 2020, so it's been 3 years.
Nice.
Yeah,
that's cool. So when did you see that switch where you were able to like consistently start making like a profit off of your art?
Ooh. So if I started painting in like 2020, profit started really like last year. Wow. 2023.
Okay.
It took about 3 years to actually see money like that wasn't going back into expenses. And part of that was just me not knowing what my art was worth or what to charge, and also wanting everyone to be able to have it. So I'd be like, yeah, you can have this print for $10, or like, oh, I'll do this custom portrait for you for $50. And it got to a point where I had so much that I had committed to. I was like, I can't keep like being a budget artist here.
Yeah.
Because I would get that, and then it would just go right back into getting paint or getting canvases or brushes or whatever. And so, yeah, I was like, okay, let me figure out a way to scale this to where it's still accessible, because that's my main goal, is for it to be accessible and to create more Black art creator or collectors, um, and just give everyone access to be able to own someone's original painting without it being like $6,000 or something.
Right.
So yeah, I think I found for what I would say my skill level and my career level, I think I found the sweet spot for that for now.
Nice. And did you figure that out through like bouncing ideas off of anyone, or is it literally just like trial and error?
Trial and error.
Dang.
Yeah. Sometimes I would sell something and be like, okay, I could have went up about 30% more off.
Seller's remorse instead of buyer's remorse.
Yeah, I had a lot of seller's remorse, and the time it takes working with someone on a portrait who wants something custom. I had to start taking deposits because I completed a piece for someone. Funny story. So I won't say his name, but I knew him from Yakima. He requested like a sports type piece, a football helmet. And I was like a brand new painter. This was like year one. And I was proud of it. I was like, okay, yeah, I think he'll like it. I showed it to him. He's like, oh, yeah, I'm a bring the money when I come pick it up. And I never heard from him again. So fast forward to last year, I did a sports piece for Legion out in Bellevue, Cam Chancellor and Richard Sherman's restaurant.
Yeah.
And it's like a whole, like, it's like 20 by 30.
Dang.
This first one that I got flaked on was like a 11 by 14. And I was charging them $45 for it in 2020.
Yeah.
So now in 2023, I have this one at Legion and it's for sale for $2,500.
Nice.
But they liked it and they're like, yeah, we kind of want to keep it. So I was like, oh, cool. It can stay. It can live there for as long as y'all want to let it live there. So yeah, shout out to Fancy and Elevate PR Management for that opportunity. It was my first like kind of huge thing.
Yeah, I think David Jackson, do you know who that is? He's another podcaster. I've produced his show a couple times. He has a podcast called Seattle Connected, and he had Fancy on, so I know.
Oh, you know Fancy? Yeah, that's my baby.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, I love me some Fancy. She's amazing. She's giving us as emerging artists, Black artists, putting us in spaces that we otherwise would have trouble getting into or just not. We just had opening night last weekend at Bainbridge Museum of Art.
Nice.
For a Black exhibit.
That's awesome.
I'm like, this is a dream. This is great. So yeah. But that sports piece was kind of like a full circle moment for me.
Yeah.
Being like, and I still have that other piece too. Yeah. I'm going to keep it. And I was just like, wow, like a couple years ago, I was trying to sell this for $45 and he stiffed me on it. If you didn't like it, you could have just said like, nah, I don't like it, you know? But now I have this piece that people get to see when they go into former Seahawks restaurant. So that's actually pretty amazing.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So what is the importance of like getting art into like different shops? Like do those shops like I've seen art in like the PCC in Central District, you know, like going up the stairs, there's like a little like do those stores or whatever like buy those from people, or is that so that people can see that and then they potentially buy it off the wall, or how does that work?
As far as like stores like that, I'm not sure. I've been in a couple restaurants, coffee shops and the brewery, and everyone kind of works it a little different. The places that I've worked with did not charge me a commission. So I was able to just hang my stuff up. If someone wants to buy it, then they can just get it right off the wall and scan my little code and pay me, and it's all good. Other places will be like, oh, we'll charge 20% or we'll charge, you know, a percentage of of your sale. But as far as those bigger stores, I think those are probably commissioned by the store and they might just kind of live there. But it's a really cool way to get your art seen. So that's what I've loved about being able to rotate through all these different spaces and little intimate shops. And I just did a tattoo shop the day before yesterday out in Kirkland. So I'm like, hey, I'm out here too now. Like,
yeah, is there like a specific city that you haven't really tapped into that you want to get more involved with
Yeah.
art-wise?
I would love to get more involved with Tacoma.
Mm.
Yeah. And just kind of like bridge the gap. I know lots of amazing artists who are there doing their thing. So it's just hard for me to like get there, like get in the car and go to Tacoma.
It's a trek.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like, how do you find out like what your demo is for like, if you're, do you specifically focus on like Black culture at this point? And if so, like, does that mean like, is it mostly like Black people buying the art, or are white people buying it? And if white people are buying it, is that kind of weird, or et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah. For now, it is mostly Black culture and more specifically Black women. Like I just love painting Black women. Black women are art.
Heck yeah.
And so it is just hard to not be like even walking down the street and being like, oh my gosh, she's beautiful. Like I wish I could like sneak a photo. I can't just like go up and ask people, can I take your picture so I can paint you later? I've done that online. Like I've hit people up like, hey, you're really pretty. Can I paint you? Like I'll give you a print. Like so yeah, I'm on this like this page of just wanting to give more representation to the beauty of Black women, because I feel like we are the most consumed people, like walking around, like us as who we are and just what we bring to the table. Our culture, just not just Black culture, but Black woman culture is just very highly consumed and underappreciated at the same time. So it's kind of like we are the blueprint and everything gets taken from us, and we don't really get acknowledged for, what we really bring to a room. So that's kind of my main focus in my art, is just portraying that beauty. And like I said earlier, wanting to encourage more Black art collectors. But for right now, more white people buy my art. Yeah, at the moment. I'll say more white people buy originals. I sell a lot of prints to Black people, which is great. Like as long as I'm in your house, like I love it. But for originals, white people love paintings of Black women.
How about this? Is there like, how do you like show appreciation for like a print? Meaning like, should you, if you're gonna buy a print that's cheaper, does that mean you should go ahead and buy a more expensive frame? Like, I went frame shopping just for these. Right, these are prints of my favorite. This is Keith Haring, and
I love
Keith, and I love Mickey Mouse. So like, as you can see, there's lots of Mickey Mouse stuff around here. But like, I didn't go like crazy on these frames, but I didn't realize how expensive frames were.
Yeah.
And like, so is there like kind of like appreciation needed when you're buying a frame for a print potentially?
For me, I am, and my husband will confirm, like he spends money. I am the one, like you give me $10 and be like, this is all you got for a week, I will make that last for 3 weeks. So for me, it's more just presentation. If I can find a similar frame at Goodwill or something like that, kind of makes it, anything that makes it pop or just kind of fits it, and for cheaper, then that's the route I usually go.
Got it.
Yeah, and I'll sell my prints. If I'm selling a framed print, it'll be in a super cheap frame, so I can keep the price low. And then if you want to like upgrade its frame, feel free to do that.
Right.
But yeah.
And then where do you get like your materials from? Like, do you like get them from Seattle? Do you get them from online? I feel like some people have like mixed feelings about Blick. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a little pricey in there.
Yeah.
So I use, the brand of paint I use a lot of Liquitex paint. And I just won a giveaway, so I won $100 from them. So I'm like, it's going right back to you. But I usually just order it offline. When I first started, I was just buying paint from Walmart, and because I didn't know that it made a difference, but it does make a difference. But at the same time, I personally feel like you don't really have to spend a whole lot of money to get your vision out if you know like how you want to play with the paint.
Right.
So I was in Michael's. Yeah, I was in Michael's, and they have the paint like sectioned off, like, oh, this is beginner paint, this is intermediate paint, this is professional paint. And I was just like, I've been using intermediate paint for 3 years
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
Like, I guess that's just where I live. I don't know. Like,
Right.
so it's a learning journey. I'm still trying to like figure that kind of thing out. But as for right now, like, yeah, I mostly order online, or like I am a frequent flyer at Joann's and Michael's.
Heck yeah.
Especially for canvases. Like,
Yeah.
it's like there's always a sale. Like every day there's a sale there. They're just like, come on, Yolanda, see what we got today.
Yeah.
So I'm like, ugh. But yeah, mostly online, and yeah, Joann's, Michael's, shout out to them for keeping the cost low for us starving artists out here.
And have you found like an art community yet, would you say?
Oh, most definitely. I have kind of bounced around, and I still have contacts with other art hubs that I'm not really super involved in anymore. But currently, we have a group. We call ourselves the Brush Squad.
Nice.
And it consists of like 30, what is there, like 35 of us in this group. Dang. We have a huge like group chat on Instagram, and we just big each other up in there, support each other. But a few of the artists I can name, Rodney King is in that group. Jannar Swanson's in that group. Myself. Christina Martin, who's in Tacoma. So we're like all spread out. Jessie Lipscomb, she is in that group. And she's all the way out in like Snohomish or somewhere. Like we are just so spread out that we built this like group, but we're still able to like connect with each other, even though we may not live in super close proximity. But when there's an art call, we'll just throw it in the group. Hey guys, I saw this. Anyone want to apply? Or if one of us is having an event, hey, I'm doing this pop-up, hey, this, and we just show up for each other.
Nice.
So, and we're constantly adding new people to the group.
Heck
so it's not a closed group. It's just whoever wants to have a place to feel at home. Yeah.
And what would you say that like Seattle Restored has like done for you? Have they like connected you with your community at all, or has it just been like them giving you a space to put stuff up in, or?
A little bit of both.
Okay.
I've met a ton of talented artists just from participating in the events. I met you at a Seattle Restored event. And at that same event I met you at, I met Jessie Lipscomb, and she's amazing. Like we like connect on so many levels. It's crazy. But yeah, I've been able to like see familiar faces at certain events, even outside of the program. And then on top of that, have a space to where I can put my art up and share it with the community.
Nice.
So yeah, it's kind of been both.
So how long is your space up for? How does that work?
I installed in November, and we are up until next month, like the first week of February. Okay. We didn't get to do the extension because they're actually building out the space now. Okay. We're at Mason and Main, right on 12th and Boren, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, we got another like 3 weeks in there.
And what does that mean? Like, so do people are they just able to look at it, or can they buy it? And if someone buys it, does that mean your installation can end early, or how does that?
As far as I know, it's more for you can look at it. I have my little QR code on my thing. And if anyone's interested, they can connect with me personally, and it'd probably stay up until the installation ends, and then I could get that to them. But I have that. It's that 5 series, the Hair Love series, and it's actually just gonna move from there. In August, I just got notified of the Shunpike storefronts. So it's going to be the same series. I think I might make them a little bigger for that because I'll have a bigger window space, but it'll go back up at South Lake Union.
Oh, nice.
For 6 months.
That's awesome.
Starting in the end of summer. So
cool.
If you miss it and don't get to see it before next month, you'll get to see it later in the summer.
Heck yeah. So what's next for you once that series ends until the summertime?
Right now I'm going to start working on the big Metropole project. I think that's probably going to take some months to do something that big and be comfortable with the work that I'm putting out.
Yeah.
Because it will live in that building indefinitely. So I
Wow.
just want it to be like, there's no such thing as perfect, but I want to be proud of it.
For
So
sure.
we have that. We have our exhibit in Bainbridge up until also next month. And then we'll have a Black History event at the Hyatt in Renton towards the end of next month. So yeah, it'll mostly just be pop-ups
Nice.
and creating, just taking time to create some new stuff.
Nice.
I feel like I've been recycling some of this stuff
Yeah.
over the past. Like winter is hard. So,
You're telling me,
you
as a
know?
new business owner, winter, I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, winter is tough. So I'm like, I need like something new. So I'll probably just go into hibernation in between events and just work on some new stuff, see what comes out.
And what's like your like artistic process? Like, do you listen to music? Like, do you have to have coffee before you work, or what's that like?
Yeah, I have to have coffee before anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, music. I'll just throw on like a random playlist. Like if someone found one of my playlists, they would not know like, is this person male, female, black, white? Who is this person? Like I can literally go from like, oh, Red Hot Chili Peppers to Kendrick. Like I do it all the time in the car. My husband's like, really? You're really gonna go from like Prince to 50 Cent? And I'm like, what's wrong with that? Like, why not? So yeah, I'll just literally put my music on, put my phone on, do not disturb. Miss a lot of calls, miss a lot of texts, and just remind my family like, hey, I love you guys. I'm here, but I'm kind of like in a zone right now. So yeah, people are always like, Yolanda never answers her phone. I'm like, you're damn right I don't. Like,
there's something nice about that though. You don't want to be tight. You want to like. I struggle with that with editing sometimes too. Even like, which you should be just focused on, getting the video done. But I'm like, oh, maybe I want to. I don't know. My editing process is craziness. Sometimes I'm able to like literally like watch a movie and edit at the same time.
Yeah.
Because sometimes there's rendering time. There's probably time where you have to wait for paint to dry.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Then I'll throw something on like Netflix or something and just be like, okay, I'll watch this. Or I'll put on like, I don't know, some random documentary or some UFO stuff that I can just like listen to without having to watch. So it can just be like in the background and I can still paint or do whatever I'm doing. So yeah.
What are your hobbies outside of like art?
That's a really hard question. I don't know. I don't really do anything. Really, I would just say I love being outside. So we walk a lot. Hanging out with my kids, hanging out with my husband. We'll watch movies. We'll go on a binge where we're like soon we're gonna go on a binge of watching all of like Hulk Hogan's horrible 80s movies.
Oh gosh.
It's just gonna be fun.
Yeah.
And so yeah, we'll do stuff like that. Like, oh, let's watch, this JFK thing for 3 days and try to figure out who killed JFK.
Oh,
like we'll just like do little conspiracy theory type things. Or really I'm a homebody though. I will support my friends at their art events, or I'll support my husband at any event he has going on. But other than that, I just kind of hang out, chill with my mom, chill on the phone. When I do talk on the phone, there's 2 people that I will give my whole day to on the phone, and that's my mom and my big brother.
Nice.
Like we will be on the phone for like 5 hours. Sometimes we'll be on like a group call and then we're all just on the phone. So, and she lives 30 minutes away and I still talk to her on the phone for like 3 hours. So yeah, that's pretty much what I do. I'll just devote some extra time to like reconnecting with family and stuff.
Yeah. Seems like that's important to you. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
So with that, what is some final advice you have for up and coming artists, creators, influencers?
Yeah. I would say, it sounds cliche, but I would say just don't quit. And a big thing that I will say is like, I know social media is like a tool to kind of get out there, get seen, but don't play the numbers game, especially as a creative. That will kill your creativity. If you share something that you're really proud of, or you post something that you're really proud of, and it doesn't get the engagement that you wanted, or that you expected, like who cares? Like no one really cares about that. You will get seen by who is meant to see you. I've gotten so many opportunities with even having less than like 500 followers at times. Like you will grow organically, and that would be my main piece of advice: is just focus on growing organically. Don't worry about numbers. Don't worry about views or likes or any of that, because that will definitely kill your creativity, and we don't want that.
For sure.
So, yeah.
And where can people follow you and reach out to you? And also repeat one more time where they can see your installation.
Okay, yeah. My installation with Seattle Restored is at Mason and Maine, 12th and Boren. And it's like this cool little, you're like going down and it's like right in the window there. You can't miss it. I'm most active on Instagram, Yolanda _Gallery with 1 L. That's actually my last name. And then _ art. So yeah, my last name is Gallery with 1 L.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's destiny. I'm like, thanks, Dad. Thanks for the cool name. Like, this is great.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So, yeah, you can hit me up. I'm very responsive on there. I love connecting with people. You don't have to just be hitting me up to buy something. Even if you want to ask me a question or just whatever. Like, I'm an open book. We don't gatekeep over here.
Heck yeah.
And I have a website, same name, Yolanda Gallery Art.
Heck yeah. This has been the NAST podcast with, and then your camera's right there.
Oh.
With
Yolanda Gallery Art.
And we did it.